Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff I Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio.
Y'all, I have made a huge mistake. And in the name of my anxieties and insecurities, I have committed to joining dear co-host Anney and friend, of course, in attending Halloween Horror Night in Hollywood Universal. I swore to you, Anney, a long time ago, I would never go to a haunted house. And now here I am, going to 10 of them, 12 of them. How many is there?
There's 8. There's 10 in Orlando. There's 8 in Hollywood.
Oh, okay. Wow, really? There's less? That's surprising.
It's much smaller.
Okay. I think I knew that, but still, that's still surprising to me. And I have tried my best to prepare through TikTok videos. Like, there's been so many creators who've actually taken videos inside of them. So I feel like I'm very thankful for them. I'm sure other people are like, why are you doing this? But I'm very thankful to them. So I can at least know what to expect just a little bit. But in the end, I guess we'll see if I actually survive.
You know, that is a whole genre of horror movies based on accidents that happen in haunted houses.
I've actually read some incidences and I'm like, oh no, why? And unfortunately, we have already gone to this by the time this episode comes out, I believe. So I can't even get any advice from y'all. You can tell me your stories, but I can't get any advice. But we'll update you when we get back, if we get back. ... So all of this, when I say my insecurities and anxieties, Anney, you were prepared to go by yourself and very excited to do so. And in my own insecurities and anxieties, the thought of you going alone really, really, really makes me uncomfortable and very, very, very upset. So I was trying to plot where my partner goes with you. Unfortunately, he has work coming up and cannot go. So I was like, son of a, okay. And I plotted and like, I'm going to come with you. Because, again, even though you are very fine with it, I am not very fine with it. Like, it's all me projecting onto you. So I'm pushing myself to this point. And every time I think about it, like literally Sunday night, I was sitting with my partner and I do a deep sigh. And I've been sighing a lot more. My mummy sigh has come back. And listeners, I think we've talked about this when I first joined, where the mummy that they discovered does this funky sigh.
Yes.
And apparently I did it and I didn't know it. And Anney would laugh every time I did it. And it's come back. Because I stopped for a while. And it's come back.
I love it.
And it's because I'm thinking this time next week or this time in this point, I'm going to be in a haunted house. And so there's a lot of terror ahead of time. But I'm getting there. I'm trying to prep. My biggest anxiety at this point, outside of like actually falling out, is that I'm going to panic you and I'm going to ruin your time. But I think the times that we've had where I've done something that I was uncomfortable with, it become almost comedic. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I mean, it is very like a more intense version of like the Haunted Mansion. Which
I don't love. Like, it's not my favorite, but I'm not screaming at it. But I am holding on to people.
Yeah. I could go into the science about haunted houses, but it's every fourth person they kind of try to scare. It's mostly jump scares. There was one that I don't think they have at Hollywood. And it wasn't scary at all, but it was cool. We had like pumpkins growing out of bodies and stuff. Whoa. The set design was really good.
I'm hoping that by the time I come out of it, I'll be okay. Because jump scares doesn't really bother me, and I think they're funny. But at the same time, like, being in presence of people made up or large objects freak me the hell out. So this is going to be interesting. I've already warned Anney that I'll probably be tugging at her. And at the very least, I could at least wait outside of the whatever haunted house is for her. If it gets too stressful, at least I'll be there with her at Hollywood. Like, that's the biggest point. But yeah, I'm doing this for you. I love you. But also it's projection. I absolutely take it on to myself.
I was very confused when you offered. I was like, what?
But I think it's going to be fun stories to tell.
Yeah, well, and as I said in my recent happy hour, You might be laughing at me because I do the most like scream. It sounds very goofy, and I do it a lot. So
well, that's exciting. So because it's quite funny, I purposely try not to scare you because I know you get really traumatized by that, but you enjoy this. So yeah. I thought it'd be interesting to see what kind of data was on who loves and hates haunted houses and whether it was a gender thing. But it turns out there's really no data for that. But there is data on the sexism within the industry, which you apparently already did when I was sick. Apologies, I missed that one. And there's a lot of depiction of it being sexist, i.e. Domestic violence being used in haunted houses. And apparently recently, as in like a day or two ago, a haunted house in Alabama came under fire for its depiction of the domestic violence in their haunted houses. And it's not the first time that a haunted house has come under fire in the United States. So that apparently is a thing. And I actually think that I've seen this in hell houses, which are Christian haunted houses trying to convert people to Christianity. And they use things like that, which I find even more horrifying. But
yep, I believe I have as well. One thing I talked about in this episode, the episode I did about sexism in haunted houses, was this movie that I like, but isn't very good, called Haunted House. Well, I don't want to say that. I won't say. It's like a decent found footage horror movie. But it's about a haunted house and it goes wrong. But I rewatched it after I did that, and I was like, oh, this is even more. It had even more bad things that I forgot.
It's not the one where they all buy a house, is it?
No. So they like set up a haunted house, and then of course, you know, demons or whatever.
Demons. Nonchalantly.
But there's like a whole plot where you get to the end, and this was like the big thing they found was not only like, is it mostly men who are making money from haunted houses, but like usually the end victim is a woman who is scantily clad, who is being tortured or hurt or whatever. And at the plot point of this is that same thing. You get to the end room, and here's this woman who's like in her underwear and bra, and she's about to be murdered. But they had a bunch of jokes that were not jokes, because we've talked about this too, about like, oh, he's so rapey around her, and like all this stuff. I'm like, oh God, no.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah, so one data didn't show all of who enjoyed it necessarily, but it did show the age range. And at the top of the list for the haunted houses are teenagers and college students, which you talked about how they're like, this is one of those things where they dare each other.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I, as a teenager, wanted to try to find ghosts. I think it was more of a college student. I loved like the ghost shows. I haven't watched them in years because I'm like, you finally get to the point that like they never show ghosts. Like they're like, "Ooh, there's one." Ooh, I'm like, "Well, son of a, I want to see it. I want to see it." It just becomes like irritating at this point. But I did. I enjoyed like the real ghost stories, even though I'm a little freaked out by it. But I'd rather go to that than these jump scares. But I digress. But it is mainly teenagers and college students. Not mainly. They are at the top of the list. Don't get me wrong. Everyone enjoys it apparently, or hates them, one or the other. But I did find a different source that has talked about a number of reasons why people love these. And they have a scientific study showing something that I think explains your love for these houses. And in this, it was a Times article. It says, according to a study recently published in the journal Emotion, after having a voluntary scare experience, the researchers found people were in better moods and had decreased brain activity overall. Quote, "We think is very similar, at least at a physiological level and neurological level, to the runner's high experience, where you're really pushing yourself and your sympathetic nervous system is in go mode," explains study co-author Margie Kerr, a sociologist at the University of Pittsburgh who studies fear. Once you're out of the scary situation, one where there is never any real threat to begin with, the feel-good endorphins course through the body, she says. It is a reprioritizing of energy, of focus into your body. You're grounded, not being caught up in thinking. I was like, oh, okay, that explains Anney to the core.
I do. I mean, it's true. And we've talked about this. We did a whole episode on fear that you can check out. But like, that's the same reason why a lot of people like roller coasters and horror movies, which I do. But like when I would go in these haunted houses, I would literally scream like scream. And then I would laugh. Like it was the immediate, like, oh, fear. Oh, that was fun.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, because it was just like, you feel these emotions. And I'm just walking through, like, looking at every corner. I'm looking up at the, like, that's just that's what I'm thinking about in that moment. Yeah.
Right. So in the same study, they talked about the people they evaluated. So here's some of the findings. After going through the haunted house, about half of the people reported being in a better mood, while 33% reported no significant change and 17% reported worse mood. There were no significant gender differences. Most people said they felt happy after going through the haunted house, while fewer people reported feeling tired and anxious after the haunted house than they did before. Mood increases were particularly significant among people who said they had, quote, challenged their fears, and among those who described the experience as intense and thrilling. Afterwards, people feel great. It's kind of like the idea of pain offset. You feel better when the pain is removed, Kerr explains. A lot of activity in the body is in anticipation, and it's in that conclusion where the enjoyment really comes in. This year, so you're going to be in that like 70-something percent, 67%, where we'll see for me. Okay. Or 50% rather. So they go on to explain that the brain kind of gets to rest during this time, that being scared interrupts their thinking. So the researchers compare this experience to exposure therapy, but fun. And also to meditation. They write, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. Decreased brain activity could mean that people were processing information more efficiently, or it could simply suggest that they were in a subdued Zen state almost akin to meditation, Kerr says. Considering that quite a few participants said they felt somewhat dazed after the experience, the second explanation seems likely, Kerr says. Did you feel that way? Do you feel dazed after one of these experiences?
Kind of. I feel like the runner's high is a very apt, I would say, comparison, because what I do think when I come out, it's sort of a very like buzzing, like joyous, oh, that was so fun. Like just release. And I totally, as someone whose brain does not stop a lot of times, this makes sense to me. But it's also like when you go with somebody, like there was one, I don't think they have this one at Hollywood Studios, but it was really fun. There was one where, by this time we've been through like 5 haunted houses and you're kind of like, I know the tricks of the haunted house by now. And so my friend Marissa and I, it was a Yeti-based haunted house. And right when he came in, it was like, boom, 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 like this music. And she and I were like dancing, like, woo. And then this Yeti jumped out and we screamed so hard. And then we laughed and we like hugged each other. And it was just like a really fun. Because we looked so goofy, but we allowed ourselves to just scream and look silly. Like, I don't know. I enjoy it quite a bit.
You enjoy it. I did find an article where someone talked about why they hated it, and one of them was because of those photos, of those surprise jump photos. She's like, see, this is what you get. Why would you want to do this to yourself?
I love those. There's a famous haunted house in Canada, Fear Factory, where they have a camera set up right when the scary thing happens. And if you are looking to like brighten up your day,
those are the ones to go to.
Those photos.
Yeah. They talked about how, yes, we as the outsider will always enjoy these pictures. Yes. But you as the person who participated, why would you do this to yourself? And I thought that was pretty clear. I was like, yeah, that's probably it on. Yeah, and besides these scientific reasons, we also have those who use haunted houses as a dating scheme.
Yeah.
In fact, one haunted house advertised 6 great reasons to bring your girlfriend, yes, they said girlfriend, to their haunted house. Yes, this is sexist and it's cis heteronormative. Like that's the way they wrote this up. Number 1, you get to see her scared face, which, by the way, I could get any scared face anytime. Even if I'm sitting next to her, all I have to do is say, ah. And she'll be like, what?
Yep.
Literally, I just grunted. She was like, ah, 2 seconds ago. While we were talking to each other over internets. So, whatever. My partner and I love scaring each other because we think it's hilarious. Unless something like, if we're holding a knife, then don't do that. But like outside of that, we do that to each other.
Mm-hmm. You also send me scary pictures, which I find very funny.
I try to put a new one up. And I think I'm logged out, so I have to get that back from you.
Oh, no.
I try to send one every Halloween where it's just like you're unexpected.
I love them.
I do too. And then the second reason was that it's relatively inexpensive. And right here, our trip is not inexpensive, so that's a lie. Of course, we're doing something extra.
Yeah, there's a wide variety of costs, I would say. I think there's some cheap ones and there's some really expensive ones. And there's some in between. Mm-hmm.
Some in between. I think it's the better, like, whatever you can find one at whatever rate you want to go. So it's going to be on par with what you pay for. Mm-hmm. I know there's that one place where you can win like $5,000 to $10,000. Yeah. Maybe more, $20,000 if you make it through and there's no rules except for don't kill the person.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And they hire apparently like offenders to purposely do things.
Wow. See, there was one in it near Atlanta that was rumored to do that. And then I went to it and that was all bull. It was not scary at all. And I did not get any money.
What was the one that's like the 13 floors
13
one
stories,
or something?
Yep.
Is that the one you're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah. And then everybody's like, if you can make it to the final floor, you get money. But nah.
No, but a clown sneezed in my face and I'm pretty sure that's where I got swine flu.
New fear unlocked. Okay. Number 3 is she'll want to stay close to you the entire time. And I'm already threatened Anney with a backpack leash because she keeps talking about running away. So maybe this is her trick, try to get me close to you. Is that what you're doing?
Oh, yeah. You figured me out so quickly.
I get you. Is that you'll have the chance to show her you can protect her. Anney's already talked about running away, so I guess that's not a ploy.
No.
Which I find hilarious. Like, really? This is how you're going to show you can protect her at a fake haunted? Okay, cool.
Yep.
Cool. You'll get a chance to show off your bravery.
Okay. I have so many thoughts about this, but I'll let you finish. Yeah.
And then it'll be hilarious. So you can also make fun of her.
Okay. So, as you said, this is very sexist, but also, the running joke is it's the opposite. What happens is this guy invites you on a date.
Right.
He goes, I've seen this happen. It was not a very scary haunted house in my small town. It was perfectly fine, but it wasn't very scary. First room. He freaks out, runs out the exit, leaves her by herself, and we adopt her into our group. Like, it's a running joke that all these dudes think they're going to look really cool in it. But then they're the ones that
screams. I've seen many of videos where, and it also was like, it can also tell you they're going to abandon you.
They're going to leave you behind at first.
Exactly. I've seen many of that. And they're like, what the hell?
Yes.
Well, you're useless, so I'm doing my own thing type of thing, which is quite funny. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Anney, I see your tricks. I'm sure this will be the best date ever.
Oh, I'm sure.
We'll report back to y'all. I think this is going to be like, so this is the Monday Mini after the fact, but pre-recorded. Mm-hmm. So we'll come back and do another Monday Mini and let you know how it went.
Yes, we will. And I hope that you have a good time.
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
I wanted to make sure you have a good time. So no need to worry about me. I'll figure it out.
I appreciate that. I have a ton of bracelets. So many.
Amazing.
Yes. Well, I appreciate it. I think it will be somewhat fun. It's funny to me, too. Every time we go to LA, we have some kind of date thing.
We do. Every time. And thus far, we've been making some good stories on our travels. So
that's true. That is true. Oh, my. Well, thanks, Samantha. And thanks to you, listeners. If you have, I think this might come out before. I think it might be too late for Juarez.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you have any recommendations for future visits or any thoughts about any of this, please let us know. You can email us at stepmediamomstuff@iheartmedia.com. You can find us on Twitter @momstuffpodcast or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff I Never Told You. Perhaps we'll post something there. Who knows? We have a TeePublic store where you can get merch, and we have a book that you can get at stuffyoushouldreadbooks.com or wherever you get your books. Thanks, as always, to our super producer, Christina, our executive producer, Maya, and our contributor, Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff I Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your favorite shows.